Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Derek Strauss and I'm talking today with Jill Campbell. This is actually segment 3 of a 3-part interview. We covered in segment 1 a bit about the problem relating to data and managing data as a product. And in segment 2, we talked about the root cause of some of the chaos that most organizations find themselves in when it comes to data and data quality and being able to use data as a product, and a little bit about the solution. We kind of teed up this discussion that we're about to have around data governance, and I think we can just jump right into the first overall kind of view of data governance. And the top 3 things that organizations need to focus on when they are trying to be successful, when they're trying to work out how they're going to be successful in the long term with data governance. Not just because, I think one of the things we mentioned in segment 1 and 2 was the fact that this is not just a point solution. This is an ongoing thing that people really need to be paying attention to, and the right people need to be involved. So you kind of just step back from the experiences that you've seen and where you're at now, where the organization's at now. What would you say are the top 3 things that people really need to focus on?
Sure. The first thing is communication, right?
Mhm.
The biggest thing is that the communication has to be up, down, crossways, sideways. Over communication, it cannot be stressed enough. The tone of the programs, the tone of the changing culture, the tone of and the expectations that you're setting that about what we're going to do with data, that has to be embedded into everything. The conversations about the goals and the objectives of the program that you're setting, the conversations up and down to the executives of what the whole activities are going on, the conversations that are the challenges that are coming up, the communication that is going out to to the board, to the employees, to the peers, to the inner committees that are being formed. There cannot be enough communication, and the biggest thing is setting the expectations, sharing the progress, sharing the challenges, sharing the steps, the objectives that you're setting and the goals that you're setting and what you want to do. That has to be very clear, and it has to be happen at frequencies, whatever makes sense for the organization. When you are setting those expectations and can be able to communicate that, that is where the culture change is going to happen. And when, or if there's posters up that are celebrating that, hey, this is what we're going to do, if there's town hall meetings, if there are emails that are sent out, to the point of, everybody's like, okay, here we go again. Or celebrations of, hey, guess what? We got this done. Our sprint was successful. We were able to curate this data, and look, you can go out and this data is really good. It's clean. Let's go celebrate it. All those communication pieces are pivotal to the success of any data governance program. That is first and foremost. The second thing really is understanding that this is a journey. I got to listen to the story about Fifth Third in a very small segment of one of their data governance sections, and they were talking about how fast this would happen, and can we do this in 90 days? And they're like, wait. We didn't get here in 90 days, right? This is decades of problems that we're trying to solve. And it's setting the expectations of that this is a journey and this is ongoing. And it isn't a start and stop. Like you said, this is not a, hey, we start today and it's done in 6 months. It has to be a data operations on and on, right? Because once we solve and create the process of how we make sure data is good, it's now operational, right? We have to make sure, okay, we're checking it. It's still good. Is it, did we have a problem? Was there a system that went down? Did something break along the way and we have to go back and fix it? that's the governance piece, right? To make sure it stays good, and the discipline and the compliance, all those words that we've heard in IT, all the steps that we've heard in Agile, making sure that the product is still stable, right? Operational stability and data still applies. So there's no beginning, there's no real end, because it's continuous, right? So the expectations of implementing a program needs to be set in a timeline on, yes, we're going to establish a program and that will have a beginning and end. And it's continuous improvement and continuous operations to make sure that we are always going to have good data, right? So the timeline and the time it takes is really the second big thing on there. And then the third big thing is really the activities of governance itself, right? Is the curation and the steps and making sure that you take the sections and work one, right? In an agile way. Let's pick this one, and we're going to work this product, and we're going to create it, and then rinse and repeat. This is the model. Here's our catalog. Here's how it looks. Here's how we curate. Here's this one, and it works. Yay. Now we're going to pick up the model, and we're going to do it the same for this one. And once you be able to create the first one, right? Fail fast, figure out what works, what doesn't work for you, rinse and repeat to be able to crank the rest out. Being able to create that model within your governance program and being able to repeat is going to allow you to get there faster, right? In the setup of it, to be able to have your governance set up in a good way for the team. Because it is a culture change for your organization, but being able to use those three pivotal pieces, you'll be able to be successful in there, because it's an organizational change. This isn't something that just happens in IT. This isn't something that the business is going to just sit there and talk about forever, right? This is an embracing of everybody's activities, and it has to be embedded in everything they do. And everything we do on a day-to-day basis, because it has to matter. We can't sit back and have somebody who is entering something go, okay, oh yeah, I mistyped their name. Well, somebody will catch it down further. Gone are those days. It is actually the ownership. It's like, ooh, how can I fix that? Or notifying, hey, I know this is I missed this, or setting up an automation that will catch it right before it goes downstream. Those things are going to be pivotal in there, and it has to be on a day-to-day basis, embedded in everything that everybody does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would guess, I'm assuming that there must have been really strong executive sponsorship for everything that you guys were doing to be able to make that change, because as you said, it's a big change. It's a culture change. It's like we're changing the way we do things around here.
Yep.
And for people to adopt it takes a bit of clout.
It does. So like I said, for when I left the organization, it was a work in progress. I would say we were about 50% there of full embedded sponsorship.
Okay.
It was kind of one of those, yeah, you guys will help us, right? You guys will help us. So my hope is that they have a much better sponsorship now. That's very hard to get.
Yes.
And it's a challenge. It's a challenge as I speak with other organizations. It's still a challenge to be able to get that much commitment and understanding. But that executive sponsorship, right, in the change of culture with the communication, that is part of that first. That's why I mentioned it first, right? The communication has to come from everywhere with that sponsorship. Unfortunately, while I was there, it was not as deep as we would have liked. My hope is that has improved now that there is a full CDO in place. Having a CDO outside of IT is really helpful in that space. That was not the case of what was set up at Belcan. Hopefully that evolution will happen there, because then some of the conflicts of priorities can get separated, right? Because then a CDO can really focus, my responsibility is data, not security or not IT, right? Their focus is data. And that's really removed some of the conflicts and priorities. And most organizations that are successful in their data governance program have that commitment, which is why there is such a focus now on standardizing CDO certifications and training. And there is some government agencies that are now requiring to have an independent CDO, not under IT, not under security. So there is definitely the commitment of that kind of a structure for that very reason. So you have the executive sponsorship and be able to have that kind of focus in curating your data.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Thanks for clarifying that, because
Yep.
I think that's something that everyone is struggling with. But I think the other very important message underlying what you've been saying is that, if you don't have that up front, it doesn't mean that you should sit back and fold your arms and say, well, we can't start, because really you have to dive in and communicate like crazy, like you said, and build the groundswell of demand for that kind of sponsorship, as you go, just by infusing your enthusiasm, etc., which, I can already tell from the short interview with you that you have. So I just want to congratulate you for the work that you did, because it's great to see that kind of enthusiasm, in a situation that's not necessarily ideal for it to start up. So, it takes a lot of courage, and it takes, frankly, a lot of chutzpah, to get out there and do it. So congrats on that. Jill, as we kind of wind this down now, if you were to step back from all of this that we've been discussing and think about what's the one pearl of wisdom that you would like to leave with our listeners, to take away, what would that be?
When we were talking about this, and I really have to think hard on the one thing, because there's really several, right?
Yeah.
But I think what you're kind of mentioning here at the end is really where it's at. It's the operational pieces of it that are what's so pivotal to me, and the passion of it that is so intriguing to me, part of the process. So I think the piece that really resonated for me, that I think is important for people to understand, is that this is a journey. This is not something that happened overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. And we have to be able to go in understanding that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Even though we may be breaking it up in sprints to get there, this is a marathon. And it is there. Yes, there are certain pieces of urgency that we want to fix. So no disrespect to that, we have problems that we have to fix, but we have to take it in an approach that this is going to take a minute. And we have to be thoughtful. We have to be proactive. We have to be process driven, and we have to be really effective in our methodology of getting there. So take the time to plan it out. Take the time to make the mistakes and figure these things out up front before just jumping in and I'm going to go fix this field and make it match over here, because that you're just going to rework it again. Recognize that this is a marathon journey. And that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean delay. Get involved, get the pieces you can work on, and start planning it out. But don't set the expectations that you're going to have this solved in 6 months. Fifth Third, big place, right? They had an 18-month plan for one product, right? And helping set those expectations and being able to set that and make it, right? That doesn't mean that you can't start another one along the lines. However, right, we have to be able to understand that it's got to be done thoroughly. It's got to be done effectively and consistently, so we can start chunking these things out. But it's going to take a little bit of time. It took us decades to get to this mess.
Yep.
It's going to take us, hopefully not decades, but it's going to take us a little bit of time to start sorting this out. We've got some really cool technology coming at us. I'll say AI under my breath, that hopefully can help us get there faster. Let's make sure that we're doing it thoughtfully and effectively, and setting the right expectations. So let's not do this again. Let's make sure it's done right and well the first time, so we can make sure that it's going to stick.
Yeah, wise words, and I'm sure our listeners are going to take that to heart. Um, Jill, thank you so much. I think this has been a great discussion, and thanks for sharing some of your insights that you've developed over the time that you've been involved in this area. Quite a shift, I might say, from being an infrastructure person to really expanding and diving into this with such passion. So I wish you all the best with your future endeavors, and great meeting you and great talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been quite the pleasure. It's been a great conversation, and I learned a lot from you also. Thank you so much.
All right. So to our listeners, once again, this has been Derek Strauss interviewing with Jill Campbell. Jill is the former director of ITSG in the program management office at Belcan, and she is currently doing some real interesting independent consulting work. So thanks for joining us, and please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.